Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome back to Algebra Instruction, all right, or this algebra course. I'm glad you're taking this. So let's get started. One of the most important things you're going to have to know how to do is solve for x in algebra, all right? And we know x is the most important variable, or the most popular variable, I'll say, but they have many letters they use, x, y, and whatever letter they use. You're going to have to learn how to get it by itself on one side of an equal sign to solve the equation, right? To find out what that letter is or that variable is. So, in order to do that, you're going to have to use something called inverse operations. Operations? Like doctors or something like that? No, not doctors. Operations, there are 4 of them in math. 4 main operations, and they go adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Right. And they work together in all of the algebra math you're going to do in order to do all kinds of stuff in math and solve all kinds of answers and everything. And pretty much all of math is just a variation of those 4 things. But the key thing is to know the opposites of one another. For example, what's the opposite of adding? Yes, subtraction. And what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. Vice versa, what's the opposite of subtraction? Addition. And what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So, by knowing the inverses, the opposites of each of the operations you do, you can solve for any variable. So what I'm going to do now is show you how to solve for these variables using inverse operations. So here we have 2 equations. And why are they equations? Because of the equal signs. Equal signs mean equation. If there's no equal sign, then all you have is something called an expression. An expression, no equal signs. But equal signs, equations. You can only solve equations. You cannot solve expressions. Please understand that in math. All right. We're going to use inverse operations in order to solve these problems. Inverse operations means first look at the sign that's in the middle. And as of course you can see, this is a plus sign. So what are we going to use to solve this equation? We're going to use subtraction. The opposite of adding is subtracting. If it's plus 3, what are we going to do? We're going to minus 3. But remember, what you do on one side, you must do to the other side. Yeah, there are sides in an equation. See, this is the equal sign shows 2 different sides, a left side and a right side. Okay, so we're going to have to make sure that we use inverse operations to solve the problem. So what happens if I subtract 3 from both sides? Simple. Well, the minus 3, there's a plus 3 here, minus 3, that goes away. Okay, and then you have the 10 minus 3 over here. So what do you end up with? Well, there it is. X is left because the 3 is gone. And 10 minus 3 is 7x equals 7. Good job. Okay, let's go over here to the equation that says x minus 5 equals 8. Now, with x minus 5 equals 8, again, there's 2 sides to every equation. All right, there's a left side and a right side. All right, with that being said, again, we have inverse operations. If x is being minused by 5, what's the opposite of minusing 5? Adding 5. So we add 5 to both sides. What do we end up with after we add 5 to both sides? You end up with, well, this goes away because minusing 5 and adding 5 means that they cancel out. X equals, what is 8 plus 5? 13. Algebra, solving for x, meaning using inverse operations to solve simple equations. Of course, as we go further with this class and as we go further with what I'm teaching you, yeah, they're going to get harder. So just understand these basic things as far as adding and subtracting, and you'll be able to get it right every single time by adding and subtracting. So you subtract when you see adding, and you add when you see subtracting to solve for equations. Now, let's do multiplication and division. One thing we got to pay attention to in math, especially at this level of algebra, is that multiplication is basically written differently now than it used to be. So it's not, multiplication is not, I'm going to use some space under here to kind of give an example. It's not 4, multiplication is not 4 times x anymore equals 32. Multiplication is now written with the number written directly in front of the letter. This is now multiplication. This is what it looks like in algebra. Okay, so when you see this, know that this is 4 times x. That's what this means, 4 times x. Not written with this x sign in the middle anymore. It's just kind of not done. Okay, let me get rid of that. And let's get to the equation, shall we? All right, here we go. So this is 4 times x is 32. And if you know anything about inverse operations, you should know that 4 times x is 32. 4 times what is 32? We know that to be 8. But to do that here in the equation, you're going to do 4 times x. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. And division in math is written with a fraction line. A fraction line, not this division symbol anymore. We don't use that in algebra anymore. We use just a fraction line. So anything on the top is divided by whatever's on the bottom. So this is 4x divided by 4, and the 4's cancel out. But remember, whatever you do to one side, you must do the other when you're doing math. So here it is, 32 divided by 4. What is 32 divided by 4? It's 8. And the x is left over here. We bring that x down. X is equal to 8. Okay, let's try over here. This is division. Yes, division right here. Division, what's the opposite of division? The opposite of division is multiplication, of course. So we're going to basically see, excuse me. It says x divided by 6 is equal to 3. X divided by 6 is equal to 3. What are we going to do? The opposite of division is multiplication. So if x is being divided by 6, we're going to multiply by 6 on both sides. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So this cancels out because multiplication cancels out division. They're opposites. And what's left? The x goes down. And then 3 times 6 is 18. X is equal to 18 in that equation. So, of course, this is how we do the math. This is how you learn to use inverse operations to solve mathematical problems. So when they're presented to you, equations especially, when they're presented to you, you should have no problem doing this. All right, more practice and you'll get it down. Okay, now we have some practice problems to work on. What you can do is you can pause this screen, or pause the screen when I bring up the problems, and that way you can work on them yourself. And then when you unpause it, I'll commence to show you how to do each of the problems and give you the answers and see if you've matched up right and see if you know what you're doing. Okay? All right, let's go. All right, so the first problem we see here is x plus 6 equals 14. Now let's remember what I said. Inverse operations. Inverse operations, which is right here. Inverse operations, there it is. Inverse operations. Always do the opposite. If I see adding, what am I going to do? Subtract. Subtract 6, not plus 6, but we subtract 6 to both sides. We do the opposite of what we see. And doing that gets rid of this 6 right here, because we subtracted it, and that leaves us with x. Remember, you got to do it to both sides, though, so 14 minus 6, since we minus 6 on the left side, 14 minus 6 is 8. All right, addition out of the way. Here we see a minus sign. X minus 4 equals 5. What's the opposite of minusing 4? What's the opposite of minusing anything? Adding it. So if it's minus 4, we're going to add 4 to both sides. Remember, algebra, the golden rule, whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. All right. So we minus that 4. Oh, I'm sorry, it is minus 4, and we're going to add 4 to get rid of it, which brings down that x. And we have 5 plus 4 on the right side of the equation, which gives us a 9. X equals 9. All right. 9x equals 27. Now remember, if you looked at the multiplication part of this, this is multiplication. A number sitting right in front of a letter is multiplication. And what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So if it's 9x equals 27, then we divide away the 9 because 9 is multiplied. 9 times x? Nope. We divide away. Divide is opposite of multiplication. We do it to both sides. So the 9 now goes away, and we're left with x over here. And what does that equal? 27 divided by 9 is 3. Learn those multiplication tables, y'all. If you don't know them, you better learn the multiplication tables because that's the key to all of this right here. All right, and the last one we got, x divided by 7. Again, division in algebra is shown by a fraction line. X divided by 7. Okay, what's the opposite of division? That's right, multiplication. So if something's being divided by 7, we multiply it by 7. And there it is, multiplication, 7, multiplication, 7 on both sides, of course. This cancels out the 7s on this side and leaves to the x again. Equals 4 times 7. What's those multiplication tables, guys? 4 times 7 is 28. All right, 4 practice problems, all 4 done for you and complete. Please check for some more of the resources that are with this course that will give you some more time to practice some of these and some more practice problems, and you'll get better with them as you go. Take care. Learning how to do inverse operations is the cornerstone of algebra. Knowing that you have to do the opposite to whatever's happening to the x on one side, and doing that opposite is going to get that x by itself. Just keep doing whatever's happening to the x. Just keep doing the opposite of what's happening to the x. Get everything to the other side, and that x will be by itself. And that's the key. Get the x by itself. Also, the golden rule of algebra, whatever you do to one side, you've got to do to the other. If you can learn those 2 main rules, inverse operations and whatever's done on one side must be done to the other, you would have mastered the keys of algebra. Now, of course, there's much more to it. So watch some more of these videos so that you can get most of the skills under your belt, and you should be able to do very well when it comes to your math classes. Once again, always rewind, always pause, rewatch so that you can make sure that you're knowing what you're doing, do the practices, and you do well. Take care, and I'll see you soon.